Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Professor.
Hello, Professor.
Hey guys, how are you doing?
Great. What about yourself?
Good, and you?
Good, good. Thanks. Watching these crises day by day, vaccinations, lack of vaccination. Several discussions, new variant. Crazy, crazy. Well, let's give 1 minute, and then we get started. All right. So guys, good morning again. We're starting our procurement strategy and intelligence class today. Let me as usual, let me open here for a while our course schedule. Okay, our course schedule. Probably you are seeing my screen. Let me just open here our schedule to locate ourselves within the course program. Here we are. Today, guys, we're going to discuss quality management. We are in our fourth meeting, and today we're going to discuss a very important subject within procurement. Again, within not only procurement, but within supply chain management in general. I would say more within business in general. I mean, quality management. It was always key for industrial production since we had the important growth in the industrial production, and today this is very important as well for services in general. If we get a city like São Paulo, of course we have industries in the suburbs and also within the city in some neighborhoods, but quality management is very important for services. When you go to a restaurant, you expect certain service level according to the type of the restaurant, price, to location. When you go to a shopping mall, you expect a certain level of service as well. What I mean is all the services that we take in a city like São Paulo is strongly dependent of services in general. You go and you expect certain level of quality. So this is a subject. This is a theme that is not important only for industrial activities. Of course, for industrial activities, this is very, very key, very important. But this is also important for the other businesses not related to manufacturing, not related to transformation of raw material into finished goods. Okay, so we're gonna dive today on into this subject. You guys had a material to be read over the week, and today we're gonna explore in details this important topic within procurement. Okay. And well, let me get back here to the presentation, to the material that will support this class. There we are. There we are. No, it's wrong. Content, quality management. There we are. You probably some of you guys noticed that we have several materials here within the tab quality management. They are examples on how we can set up quality standards to our suppliers, to our business partners. Okay, I will walk you guys through some of those materials during this presentation. Okay, during this presentation, I intend to explore each of these materials here. Okay, let me just make sure that we are recording. We are, and that's right. That's right. Mm-hmm. Quality management, guys. Quality management. Those are the topics, specifically speaking, that we're gonna walk through during this next 1.5 hours. Okay, we're gonna establish some definitions, although the broader definition of quality management is, I would say, well known by everybody, by the practitioners, by the people that is already into the businesses, but also for you guys that are still studying business. The broader concept of quality management is something very reasonable to understand by the common sense, or using the common sense. Second of all, we're gonna talk about specs and conformance. So I know that I need products or services with high quality, but I need to inform my supplier, my business partners, on what quality or what are the standards that I am expecting. This way, my supplier will be prepared, or at least he will be, it will be informed about what are the targets that he needs or that it needs to reach. We're gonna talk also a little bit about inspection. So if I wish quality products with high quality, services with high quality, I need to establish a inspection program to understand if the process of production is being done considering the specs and conformance that will take the product or service to high quality. Also, we're going to approach total quality management in a broader and general manner. What is the concept? What is the idea of total quality management? Some people would say, how we can understand the religion of total quality management for people that works directly with quality management. Total quality management concept is a kind of religion. You know, you need to follow that every single day in every step that you take within your business, within your company, within your operation. We're gonna discuss this a bit. 5 actions to improve quality management. 6, supplier assessment. So if I expect quality, high quality product, I need to make sure that my supplier is prepared, is able, is capable to provide such level of quality. And lastly, economics of quality. What are the main general costs or conceptual costs that run into a business to provide quality, higher or lower level of quality? All right. On definitions. As I said, the definition of quality management is quite easy to understand. Quality management could be named or could be defined as a set of actions that we establish in our business, in our operation, in our life, in order to have product, services, outlets with high quality. Okay. Here we have a workflow that, in my opinion, explains well how we could understand quality management. Quality management actually is related to features, to characteristics of a product. So I expect certain types of certain types of features of this product that, in my opinion, when I say my opinion, I can be a buyer, I can be a client, a customer, an internal customer, an external customer, whatever. Features of a product are the standards that I believe that a product or service need to reach, need to accomplish in order to have quality. And those features, those characteristics helps to meet what I said, the requirements. So quality management is just if I could explain this in a simpler manner, is the process in which we assess the product or service or the production process in order to understand if the product or service is reaching the wished requirements. Okay, here we have some more conceptual, theoretical definitions, but I would say that in general, we have, on one hand, requirements, features, characteristics, and on the other hand, process that will make this product to reach the expected quality, the expected standards. Okay. I may say that a product that for you, for example, for you guys or for you specifically, certain products can be of poor quality, and for me can be of high quality. It depends on the standards that you establish and that I establish. For example, I'll give a homemade example. I love McDonald's, always loved, since I was a little child. And my wife doesn't like McDonald's. She thinks that it's, ugly, bad, poor in terms of quality. You know, she doesn't like. And I love. Remark that the level of standards here are quite different. You know, for me, I consider McDonald's as high quality because I have a set of standards that for me is quite enough. I like the taste, I like the environment. Not all the stores or the McDonald's restaurants. Some restaurants are actually could be better in terms of cleaning, etc. But in general, I like the taste, I like the price, I like the environment, and my wife doesn't. So remark that we have different quality standards, you know, and this product can be considered of high quality for two different people, or can be considered high quality for one people and poor quality or by the view, by the eyes of other people. Okay. All right. And you can extend this example for several other types of business or of services. Probably you have a bank that you like, and eventually your friend doesn't like that bank because of this, and that. Eventually you like that product, that car, or that wallet, and your friend for some reason doesn't. Eventually you like a country or a city because of this, and that, and your friend doesn't like the same city or country. So at the end of the day, quality standards are variable. Depends on the eyes of the people, of the person, of the company, the organization that is requiring that product. Here we have two conceptual ideas linked to quality management. We have the idea of performance quality and the idea of conformance quality. In a very simple way, performance quality is what customer informs to supplier. Hey, I need you to ship me 7,000 tons of soybeans, or a bulk of ethanol, or a bunch of laptops, and the standards for that are these, and that. If we're talking about bulk products, for example, commodities, I could establish that moisture, umidade, higher, cannot be higher than 14% of the total mass. Purity or cleaning level can be must be minimum of 1%, and other standards. For the laptop, same thing. I need 32 gigabytes RAM. I need the SSD of this capacity, etc., etc., etc. So performance quality is the quality that the customer informs or expects, and this is informed to the supplier. We have a second step here is that happens when the supplier ships the products or the service to the customer, and then we have the conformance quality. The conformance quality is related to inspection. So while performance quality is an expectation, conformance quality is the check. I check if the performance quality that I informed to my supplier is being addressed. Okay. Again, this is very, very conceptual, theoretical. We need before to speak on practical examples, we need to walk through these conceptual ideas. Okay. Here we have some additional explanations on performance quality. I would basically repeat what I just said, so I will leave this behind. Okay. Just one point here that I would like to comment to develop a little bit is on this topic here. Some buyers, sometimes they play at the safe side by over specifying. Look how interesting is this, and this is very common in several markets. I mean, concerned on the capacity of the suppliers, or concerned on or considering prior experience that the buyer had with other suppliers receiving always bad products or bad services, some buyers, they eventually decide to increase the level of specifications, even if they don't need that. Even if they don't need that level of specification, they decide to increase the level of specification. we have consequence on that. We have consequence related to cost. I mean, the supplier will need to incur in additional costs to reach this level of specification, okay? And eventually the supplier, he can simply give up of the business. He can say, hey, you know, this level of requirement is too high for me. It's too high for me. So, you know, the cost will be prohibitive, and I will not accept that. It happens a lot in my business, the business that I am involved in addition to teaching. As I probably explained to you in the first class that we had, I work in a firm that provides projects related to infrastructure. I mean, warehouses and handling equipments related to bulk products, to commodity products. So we offer silos, warehouses, handling equipment for soybeans, for corn, for rice, for certain types of minerals. And sometimes we receive some demands from our customers with high level of specifications, high level. It is so high, it is so concerning that we decide to not to offer to this customer, because we get concerned about the punishment related to this high level of specification. And we know that high level of a specification that is demanded by the customer eventually is not necessary. So we need to balance this in order to keep our suppliers motivated. We cannot decrease the level of quality. We cannot do that for a level below to the minimum acceptable, but we cannot high specify. I will give you another example that eventually you guys have faced or will face. Sometimes you see a job description in a LinkedIn post, for example, of a company is hunting professional, an analyst, a manager, a director, whatever, and then you get curious and you open the job description, the requirements of that opportunity, and we see that sometimes I mean, the specifications are so high that you think, I love this firm, I love their business, it's business, but I will spend a lot of time to enroll myself to apply to this opportunity, and I don't think I will reach such type of specifications. Eventually, the firm, the owner of the opportunity, will lose people because they are not applying, because they think that it's very tough, it's very hard to get the opportunity. Eventually, the firm is losing people that could fit that space, could fit that position, and sometimes the firm. One thing is when we see the job description and the requirements, and other thing is when we see the assessment. Sometimes you apply to the opportunity, you see that you don't have all these specifications, but you get the chance to go to the next step, to the next phase of the process, and then you think, how could I do that if I didn't reach all the requirements? It is because probably nobody, or just a very small number of people, reached that number of requirements. So it's very important. It's very important to bear in mind this. I know I saw last week at LinkedIn someone that developed some technology related to programming. I don't remember the name, but it was very interesting. He said, I saw a job description asking 3 years experience in that technology. I thought to apply to that opportunity, but I noticed that I don't have 3 years experience in that technology. By the way, I created this technology 1.5 years ago. So this is a clear example on this, and you can bring this example to business. Okay, to business is the same thing, but in business we need to, again, always to have balance, to try to reach or to try to understand what's the best level of requirements. Because again, if you get too low into the requirements, probably you can eventually you can get bad products or services. All right. Yet on conformance quality, we have two main aspects related to conformance quality. Just remembering, conformance quality is related, is the process of checking if the performance quality was addressed by the supplier. So conformance quality is the process of checking if the product, if the service, if the good reached the expected quality that was informed to the supplier before shipment or during the contracting process. And regarding quality, conformance quality, we have basically two types of assessments. We have the assessment that we usually name as attributes, aspects that we name attributes, and aspects that we name as variables. What are aspects named as attributes? Attributes are aspects that are easily identified. They are present or not. So if I have a list of standards, I can have within this list some standards that are attributes and standards that are variables. In Portuguese, I would say I have standards, or I have specifications that are atributos, and I have standards or specifications that are variáveis. What's the difference between the two of them? Attributes are easily identified. I want a car with 4 wheels. I want a car with 4 wheels, 2 doors, 1 engine. I want to buy a lot of 10 laptops. Each laptop needs to have 32 gigabytes of RAM memory, or 500 gigabytes of SSD. Those are specific attributes. Those are specific aspects, standards, specifications that I am expecting from my supplier. And how about the variables specifications? Variable specifications are aspects that need to be measured or assessed or evaluated. Here two very typical examples from the fuel market. Moisture content in a type of fuel. For example, for diesel, when you are trading diesel, when you set up a supply contract with a diesel blender, if you are a gas station owner or gas station entrepreneur, and you decide to buy diesel, 1,000 metric tons of diesel from Ipiranga, for example, you're going to receive a contract, and into this contract, you're going to check the specifications of this product. There, you're going to find level of moisture, X% of the total content. And how do you check that? How do you check if the product that you are receiving into your gas station have this maximum content of moisture? It's different from number of wheels in a car. You need to make an assessment. You need to make a test. You need to make a measurement, okay? Same thing for viscosity of a fluid product. How do you check if the viscosity of the diesel or of the gasoline or of the oil is an X number per millimeter? You need to make an A assessment, okay? You need to make an A assessment. And we have, we have several other examples. Here, I brought to you a table bringing examples of specs definition and tolerances for Brazilian road diesel. It comes from ANP. So the National Petroleum and Biofuels Agency in Brazil issues the standards for each type of fuel commercialized, produced, traded in Brazil. Diesel S10, diesel S500, biodiesel, gasoline, ethanol, the blendings, gasoline plus ethanol, diesel plus biodiesel, and so on. Okay, this is a public standard that all the players in the supply chain need to follow. And look, if we get color, for diesel S500, just a parenthesis here, for the ones that eventually doesn't know the difference between the several types of diesel, this is very important to know because we are living a moment of change, right? Into the fuel matrix worldwide. When you see a diesel S500, any of you guys know the difference between 500 and S10, S500, S5000? No? No? No problem. Diesel S500 is a diesel with 500 parts per million of sulfurs, enxofre. Diesel S10 is a diesel with 10 parts per million of sulfurs. This diesel here is much cleaner than this diesel here. And this diesel here is much cleaner than the diesel S5000. Why we do have 3 types of diesel in Brazil? Because Brazilian diesel fleet, trucks mostly, is very old. You have trucks that are being driven in Brazilian roads that have 20 years in diesel engine. So these trucks, they still run with diesel S500, 5000. The modern ones, they run with diesel S500 with a better to environment diesel. And the newest SUVs, trucks, and so on, I guess since, I would say 2012, I might be wrong, but it's from this decade, they already ran with diesel S10 with a very low level of sulfurs. As soon as the time goes on, the idea is that trucks, engines with those 2 fuels will be stopped to be used because they will get very old, and all the cars will be ran by powered by S10. Just a parenthesis to us to understand this detail. This is very important for any industry, right? And in Brazil, for people that have cars or are involved with logistics. Okay. And here, getting back to the specifications, if we analyze color, we can see two different approaches. For this OS 500, the color is clear, it is red. This is attribute. So you cannot have a yellow or a transparent or a white DSOS 500. The color is red. If we are accessing DSOS 10, color is between colorless and yellow. This is kind of variable. This is kind of variable. Although you don't have any method to check. What's the method to you to check the color of the fuel? Eyes. And here another comment that works for fuel trading and for any other business that you guys could be involved eventually. When you have lack of measurement, you have a criteria or you have a criterion and you have lack of measurement, you open room for discussion. It happens a lot in this market. For example, if Ipiranga is buying from a diesel supplier, Ipiranga has a contract that will end up, for example, in February, in April 15th, okay? 30,000 30,000 cubic meters of diesel S10 to be delivered from March 15th to April 15th. But beginning of March, early March, Ipiranga noticed that the price has changed to lower levels. I mean, Ipiranga bought 3,000 cubic meters to be delivered from March 15 to April 15 at 3,000 reais, for example, 3,000 reais per cubic meter. And in the beginning of March, in the middle of the contract that Ipiranga had with the supplier, diesel price decreased to 2,500 reais per cubic meter. In this situation, Ipiranga can follow one of the two options. Ipiranga can honor the contract. Okay, I bought 30,000 cubic meters at 3,000 reais per cubic meter. I will accept that, even knowing that I could buy now at spot market diesel at 2,500 reais per cubic meter. On the other hand, I'm just using Ipiranga here to exemplify, okay? On the other hand, Ipiranga could say, hey, I will try to cancel or to create problems to this contract that I have with the supplier in order to stop receiving this diesel and start buying in the spot market cheaper. In this case, Ipiranga could try to bargain quality problems, for example, related to color. Ipiranga could say, hey, you are shipping diesel S10 for me, but the color is not between colorless and yellow. For me, the color is much more to orange. And then the supplier could say, hey, what are you saying? This is the same diesel that I'm sending to you since, I don't know, 2 years ago. No, but now I'm noticing that this is orange, not yellow. And then they get in a divergence point And how could they solve this? It's just by conversation, because we don't have any method to test the color. You don't have any method to test the color. I've already seen situations exactly like that, not with Ipiranga, okay? With other, I lived situations like that, where the buyer, noticing that they could buy cheaper into the spot market, he decided to put problems in the quality in specifications that you could not test. You put the, we used to say here in Brazil this, right? You put the goat into the room, you put the problem on the table, and you try to, one problem on the table, and you try to call your partner to the negotiation table to rediscuss the contract. Você bota o bode na sala. Hey, I see this problem. And then the supplier may say, it would be much harder to discuss and to take this to the justice to prove that the diesel that I am sending is not orange but colorless to yellow, than eventually to renegotiate price. So remark how quality could be important to business relation. Okay, as soon as you have tests, again, I am using fuel market, fuel industry here, but you can expand this to any other situation. The important here is not the diesel industry, but the lessons learned from this. When you have standard methods to assess variable specs, like viscosity, like density, like cold filter plugging point, like moisture. When you have standard tests, what I mean as standard tests that are established by organizations like ABNT or ASTM. When you have tests like that, you can get to a divergence between buyer and supplier, but at the end of the day, you can pay a test, or you can do a test in your own laboratory and assert, hey, my product is within the specifications from 2 to 4.5 millimeters per second viscosity, or it is below between 2 to 5 viscosity, millimeters per second viscosity, or it's not. You can establish that, and then you can discuss on more reliable basis. Okay. Here's just a concept on cold filter plug-in points, CFPP. We have here other example from the fuel market related to bringing a attribute standard. Cold filter plug-in point is an attribute, specification. What is cold filter plug-in point? Cold filter plug-in point is an important measurement for liquid products, among them fuel, but not just fuel. Okay, it is an important specification, quality specification that says the following: hey, the product that you are selling me, supplier, needs to support temperatures lower than, as lower as 12 degrees in January, 12 degrees in February, 12 degrees in March, 7 degrees in April, 3 degrees in May, and so on, in São Paulo, Minas Gerais, and Mato Grosso do Sul. This product cannot become solid in temperatures of 12 degrees or more. You need to guarantee me that the product will remain liquid all over the time in January if the temperature is 12 degrees or higher, and so on. This is important for certain types of products. I'll give you one example. In biodiesel, the diesel coming from vegetable oils, you can process different types of vegetable oils to have the biodiesel that will be used in the diesel engines. At certain moment of the time, you're gonna check what are the raw materials that you have available within your supplier, your supply network, and you're gonna check that you have soybean oil, you have palm oil, you have tallow. Tallow is, for the ones that are not familiar with this word, is gordura bovina. Okay. You have cotton oil, you have several other types of vegetable or animal oils, poultry oil, and so on. So you can decide to buy the cheapest oil to produce your biodiesel that will be sold to Ipiranga, again, not to keep the same example. Okay, but remark, as soon as you decide the different types of raw material that you're gonna use to produce biodiesel, you're gonna have different levels of CFPP of your biodiesel. If you use soybean oil, 100% soybean oil, you're gonna assure that up to 0 degrees Celsius, your product will be or will remain liquid. If you add, for example, tallow to your biodiesel, 100%, let's suppose that instead of soybean oil, you're gonna use 100% tallow in your biodiesel production. In this case, you need to make sure that you're gonna sell to regions that are not cold, because a biodiesel produced with 100% tallow will probably have CFPP higher than 10 degrees. Sorry, lower than 10 degrees. Higher than 10 degrees in February, for example. What I mean is, in a temperature of 15 degrees Celsius, your biodiesel made by 100% of tallow can become solid. So this is an interesting table that brings several different types of attributes that you need to check before supplying your liquid product. Okay, again, I'm using here the fuel industry, but you can explore or can expand these to several other industries. Well, moving forward to topic number 3, inspection. So if I have a standard, a set of standards that I expect from a product or service, if I have performance, quality, to use the right term, if I inform these specs to my supplier, I need to make sure that I will, as a supplier, I will be able to address those specs. Again, if my buyer is expecting a certain level, a list of specs, I need to make sure as supplier that I'll be able to provide such level of quality standards. And then the supplier can establish 2 different types of quality controls, which is very simple to understand. We have quality control process and we have quality assurance. What's the difference between the 2 of them? Quality control process is the process of checking the quality at the end of the production line. So I make the check of the quality of the product just when the products, the bulk of products, the bunch of products are done. On the other hand, quality assurance is the process of checking the quality of the production process, not the finished goods. So I try to make sure that my production process is fully monitored in order to deliver the high quality product that my customer, that my market expects. So while here I'm just talking about finished goods checking, here I'm talking about industrial process follow-up, industrial process monitoring. Okay, let me open, let me, just a minute. Let's prepare my whiteboard here. I want to use this in a minute. Any doubts, guys? Up to here? Any doubts up to here? No? All right. All right. The idea of inspection divided into quality control process and quality assurance takes us to, I would say, the school of total quality management, the school of total quality management. What is total quality management? Let me put here my whiteboard, just a minute. What would be total quality management? Hold on. Made a mess here. Oops. Yep. And yeah. What would be total quality management, guys? Can you see my whiteboard?
Yes, Professor.
Okay. What would be, or how could we name or describe total quality management? Total quality management, guys, as I said in the beginning of the class, it's kind of a religion. When you have a very religious person, you may notice that everything that this person does is always considering the good faith, the religious concept that this person follows, and so on. So every step that this person takes are watched by the conceptual view of the religion that this person follows. The same thing with several other attributes of people like honesty or loyalty, etc. are attributes that you have for everything that you do in your life. And total quality management is something similar. When a firm adopts total quality management, this firm is saying to the entire group, to the entire team of this organization, not only to the operational industrial people, but for everybody. Hey guys, now you're gonna work every single task that we do here shall follow the total quality management. So we need to observe, we need to remark for every single task that we do here in our firm, if we are doing this, considering the best process that will deliver the best quality to the service that is the outlet of this task, to the product that is the outlet of this task, and so on. So it's something that is inside of each person, and it is part of the firm's culture. Specifically on the production side, guys, total quality management is pretty similar to the quality assurance that we've just mentioned. While the quality control is the process of checking the finished goods, the quality assurance is the process to control all the steps of the production in order to have high quality goods. So I don't make the check at the end of the process, the check of the product, or at least I don't give a high focus on that. My focus is on if the processes that will generate as outlet this product or this process is being done over high level of quality standards. Okay? And this is linked, this quality assurance process is quite linked, is the basis of the TQM, the total quality management. Okay? One of the firms that could be, or that is known as one of the most successful firms in terms of TQM implementation is Toyota. Toyota, with the Toyota Production System, TPS, was able to establish a high level of quality assurance in both the production process and in the relation with the supplier network. In the relation with the supplier network, Toyota established a very interesting network, knowledge network, in which Toyota could teach the suppliers on how to do the best way, the production in the best way in order to deliver the best products. And on the other hand, Toyota opened its ears to listen the suppliers. So this back and forth relation created between Toyota and the supplier network a so special environment that everybody was focused on quality assurance in processing the operations in order to have quality in each step of it. And the same thing internally, the same thing in the Toyota's own production lines. The group that will discuss Toyota's case will somehow dive into these specifics of Toyota. Okay. Well, attention is paid to systems, procedures, and process rather than the focus on goods or service that is being supplied. Maybe this is the summary of the concept of total quality management. Total quality management. Okay. Okay. If I understood what is total quality management to TQM, I need to understand how to improve or how to reach quality management. I understood everything, Professor. I understood everything, but I mean, what are the actions that we could take, generally speaking, okay? Generally speaking, when I say generally speaking, is speaking on general terms. I'm not speaking specifically on one industry or another. I'm just giving you guys a general general view on the actions that we could establish in order to reach or to improve quality management. The three actions are standardization, concurring engineering, and early involvement in a new product design. What is each of them? Let's start talking on standardization. What does it mean, standardization? Imagine that you are a supplier and you are negotiating, you are discussing with your main buyer a new supplying contract. Okay, a new supplying contract. One thing is when you receive from your buyer pretty different standards from the prior business that you and your buyer had. I mean, let's say that your buyer changes the specifications of the same product that he is used to request from you in every single deal. Every time that you have a new deal, you have a different bunch of standards for the same product. This makes you, supplier, very confused. And I mean, it's hard for you, to set up your production line every single time, every time that you have a new contract with your customer. The other way around is true if your buyer is capable to maintain standard requirements for one specific item. You, supplier, will be able to get experience in that production. As soon as you get experience, you understand better your process, and then you can understand which step or which steps of your process might bring quality risk to the product, and you can mitigate those risks better. You also decrease, you supplier, you also decrease your costs because you are so experienced in that you don't need to make any important setup in your production line. So standardization is very important for quality management. If everybody knows the quality standards, everybody will be able to produce better, because you get what we know from economy, the learning curve. As soon as you learn, you practice, your learning curve increases over time. This is true when you have standards. The learning curve eventually will not be present when you have several changes in the product standards. Okay. It is also important, standardization, for the buyer. Why this is important? When you have standard specifications, you can simply go to the market and bid, make a buyer indication, as we discussed in our prior classes. You know that for that set of specifications that are, or that is standard, you're gonna have a relevant number of suppliers that will be able to offer high quality products for you. If you change your specifications a lot, or if you turn your specifications much more specific than standardized, you might face difficulties to find suppliers. Okay, so standard or standardization play important role for both sides. For supplier, that will know the receipt and will follow that receipt, and play an important role for the buyer, because as soon as you standardize your specifications, you can find more suppliers. And if you have more suppliers, you have more opportunities to find quality. And how about concurring engineering? How about concurring engineering? What is concurring engineering? By the way, let me display again my whiteboard here. What would be concurring engineering? Concurring engineering. Concurring engineering. This concept, guys, can be applied for several industries. I could give you an example of industrial process, as I can give you an example of banking. I will stay in this moment with an example on banking. The big banks in Brazil, and probably abroad, they work as organized into committees or groups or teams. I mean, when a bank will launch a new product, a new financing product, for example, I don't know, credit for real estate, a different credit card, a different loyalty program, whatever, when they will launch a new product, they don't work like that. They don't work like that. I will explain what's that. They don't work like that. I mean, team of products develop the product, then they explain to the commercial team. Then it goes to the back office to check the feasibility to launch the product. And then it goes to, for example, marketing for launching. It doesn't work like that. Why? Why it doesn't work like that? If you follow a lined process, a process in line, you can get eventually the approval of commercial, you can get the approval of back office, but when it arrives to marketing, they say, hey, this product has any adherence to the market. You lost a bunch of time and resources here in the individual discussions until reaching the market team, and then the market team denies the process and you lose all the effort. What is most common in banking? Just to give you an example in services, is the what we say concurrency or concurring engineering. Concurring engineering, which is basically the committees. Which is basically the committees. What is that at the end of the day? It is a multi-sense discussion between the affected or the relevant teams. For example, products discuss with marketing, discuss with commercial team, discuss with back office, all together. Discuss with IT, we put here IT, all together. And from this, and coming from these multi-sense discussions, it arrives a viable product, or to use a common term, a minimal viable product. When you do this, theoretically speaking, you lose much less time and resources than in this situation.
Professor, can you explain the concept of an MVP? I didn't get it.
MVP, minimum
Yes.
viable product. The
Oh,
minimum,
viable.
yeah, viable. It's like feasible. Yeah. Minimum viable product (MVP) is a concept that encompasses the characteristics. Sorry, the correct. Oops. Features. The features of a product that give to this product minimum feasibility. MVP is a set of standards that as soon as they are assessed by the executive committee or by investor or whatever, by the board of a firm, they consider that product minimally feasible to be sold or not. MVP is the concept of what are the minimum requirements for a product. When I say product here, I'm not, again, referring to an industrial product, but what could be a service. What are the minimum requirements for a product to be launched? Okay. Is that fine, Hector?
Of course, Professor. Thank you.
No problem. So concurring engineering, let me get back to presentation. Concurring engineering, guys, is another important aspect that concurs, that runs, that contributes to quality management. And the third topic, early involvement in new product design, is related to how involved is or are our suppliers in the development of the product. Look, I would say that it's similar to concurring engineering. You have one situation. You start to develop a new product just using your own staff, the internal staff, okay? So you discuss internally several alternatives for a new product in order to reach new levels of profitability or revenues or cost reduction, whatever. In this first situation, you just discuss with or among your internal fellows, your internal colleagues, the internal group of the organization. You don't open this discussion to for example, to the distributors that will sell your product, neither to your suppliers. When you do that, when you do the development of a product like this, you run an important risk, which is losing information coming from the suppliers or coming from the distribution channels. Eventually, you develop a very nice product internally with very nice capabilities and features, but when you look to the supplying network, you see that your suppliers are not capable or able to supply the raw materials or the pieces that you need for that. As soon as you decide to involve earlier your suppliers in the product development discussions, you mitigate these risks. So as soon as you involve earlier in the process your suppliers will be able to say, hey, guys, the idea here is very good, but you're not going to find the raw material that you need. You're not going to find the pieces that you need. You need to rethink. This is very important for gaining time and reduce the losses related to resources when you involve your suppliers or your distributors or other partners in the supply chain earlier in the product development. Okay? But you have a consequence that you need to manage when you include those guys early in the process. When you include these guys early in the process, two things could happen. First, these guys, the suppliers, for example, could get this idea and sell to your competitor. He's not part of your organization. He's not, eventually, he is not committed to you as your own team. So it could happen. He could sell this information to the competitors and get money, get profitability, get more space in the market with it. Other thing that could happen is that the supplier or the set of suppliers, if we are talking about more than one supplier, they could feel themselves as key for the operation, as they are participating since the beginning, as they are the suppliers that will supply asset-specific items, as I explained it in our last class. They can feel themselves as key for operation. They can think like that. Hey, if I'm not here, my buyer cannot put in place the plan that they have. And well, as soon as they feel like that, and mostly if this is true indeed, they can charge for that. They can increase prices, they can increase conditions, they can, at the end of the day, they will have the buyer in their hands. So you need to work with these type of risks. We have some, and just to mention this is important, we have some legal instruments here in Brazil and abroad that try to mitigate such type of opportunistic behavior. Opportunistic behavior. One example is the NDA, non-disclosure agreement. Who could explain me what is that, a non-disclosure agreement? If you guys had the opportunity to, to work with a non-disclosure agreement, for example, what could be defined? How could be defined a NDA, non-disclosure agreement? A non-disclosure agreement is a legal document signed by, for example, a supplier and a buyer, to them to share knowledge, documents, data, or info. So they need to share those type of things, those type of information, but they need, both of them, they need to protect themselves against opportunistic behavior. Hey, how could I make sure that my supplier will not get my knowledge, my documents, my data, my info, and spread into the market, spread into my my competitors. The NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, tries to bring some comfort to both of them, to suppliers and to buyers. This is very, very, very common in the discussions between firms and banks, for example, when they need to share financial documents or, I mean, financial ideas to set up a structured finance operation. It's very common in IB, investment banking, when the bank signs a NDA with the firm that is subject of IB. It's very common when you have a firm that is assessing another firm in order to check if it's worth to buy this firm or not. So this is very, very common to use. The question is how executable is this and how strong is this? In my opinion, this has much more a impact in the mind of the involved ones than a legal consequence per se, but it exists. Okay. We also have other type of document, a bit broader, that also aims to bring this type of comfort, which is named MOU. Is anyone aware about what would be MOU? MOU? No. MOU is a Memorandum of Understanding. It's broader than NDA, but it also brings aspects related to non-disclosure aspects. A MOU brings more than this, brings more than what a NDA brings. A MOU brings the conditions to a deal to become real. I will give you one example that's currently happening in Brazil. Probably you've heard that the health ministry, the Ministério da Saúde, said that had some MOUs with pharmaceutical industries. What is MOU in this case? MOU is a document signed by the government of Brazil and by some health industries, saying that, hey, if you reach these, that, and that requirements, I will buy a number of vaccines for you. So the Memorandum of Understanding, the MOU, brings the informations or the steps that are required or that need to be accomplished in order to the deal to be closed. Okay, and this is very important, or this could bring some comfort in the situation where you bring suppliers to the discussion of a new product development. Okay. Well, guys, here we have a written explanation on what I've just detailed on standardization, on concurring engineering, okay, on concurring engineering, and also on early involvement of suppliers in a new product design. Okay. Well, here is something that I really like to point out and to develop. Okay, we have spent part of this class talking about quality management, criteria, specifications, etc., etc., etc. But I mean, how could access beyond the quality? I mean, how could I make sure that my supplier is capable to offer the quality that I need? For that end, I need to make a prior assessment. Before setting up any contract, before setting up any deal with the supplier, I need to make an assessment of the supplier. I need to understand if the supplier is capable from a financial standpoint, from a production standpoint, from a logistics standpoint, from a quality standpoint, if he's capable to deliver what I need. And here we have some criteria to make this assessment or to help on this assessment. The first criteria, very common sense, is past performance. So if this is a supplier that is already in my supplying network, important to check with the several teams within my organization if the past performance of this supplier is good. Is he delivering what he committed? Is the quality good? Is the delivery pace good? Etc., etc., etc. It's a simple check that we can do in order to guarantee that the supply will, or that the supplier is capable to offer what we need. Second, reputation within the market. If I don't know the supplier yet, important to check within the market with if the supplier is good, if we have problems, if any other competitor or player had problems with this guy, etc. It is very, very, very common in some industries. Reputation within the market is the check of reputation within the market is very common in some industries. Okay, in some industries we have, by the way, informal blacklists. So if the supplier failed with one or other player, the competitors, the set of buyers, they have a so close communication that they put the supplier aside. They blacklist him. So reputation within the market is very, very important. One important instrument to check reputation in the financial market, very, very important and very common, is in Brazil, Serasa. In North America, Equifax. When you get access to Serasa or to Equifax in Canada or in the United States, you can check if that firm or that person have financial problems with the firms that he or she is related. So reputation within the market is very, very important. What we need to make sure is that if we eventually are not creating a informal blacklist, which I have my doubts if is legal or not. Very recently, the biggest soybean buyers in Brazil, which are global traders, Cargill, Bunge, ADM, Louis Dreyfus, and some others, just the big ones, they created a electronic system in which all of them, they are competitors, but they have a common system in which they inform into the system who are the farmers that performed well in the past years and who are the farmers that performed badly, didn't deliver contract, didn't pay financing, and so on. This is a new form of blacklist, a explicit blacklist, electronic blacklist, created by a set of competitors. So remark, they are competitors, but at the same thing, they share information in order to protect themselves against bad procedures from the suppliers. Again, reputation within the market is very important. Visit and appraisal. In locus, visit is very important for some suppliers. The firms that I work for is subject of this visit very frequently. For example, when we sell a big project for a port operator with a high level of engineering and specifics, the buyer, before closing the contract with us, they come to our installations to check if we have operational capacity to produce and technology to produce. So in locus, visit is very, very important for this check. Okay. Third-party certification. Here is a very interesting form to make the assessment of the supplier. If you have a huge number of suppliers of a certain item, eventually you, as a buyer, you're not able to make your proper check of the supplier. You have, 1,000 of suppliers, 2,000, 10,000 of suppliers worldwide, for example. You're not going to be able, or it would be very expensive for you to make by yourself this assessment. This is very common for fruits and vegetables that flow from Americas or from Asia and other producing regions to Europe. The big retail firms in Europe, like Carrefour, like Tesco, and several others, they are not able to make the check. Let's get as example Carrefour. Carrefour is not capable, it is not operationally feasible to make the assessment, for example, of grape producers in Brazil, in Argentina, in Uruguay, in South Africa, and so on. They cannot send a team to make assessment of producers in all of those countries. I'm talking here as an example of grapes, fresh grapes, okay? Grapes. They cannot go to the farms to check if they have capabilities to produce, if they have structure to produce, if they produce following the quality standards, etc. But these guys here, which are the European customers that buy from the Carrefour retail stores, the supermarkets of Carrefour all over Europe, they demand high quality standards for grapes. Again, I'm using grapes just for illustration. We could name here all types of fruits, bananas, mangoes, etc. Including not only quality standards per se, but they also demand, they also request from Carrefour guarantee that those grapes are produced respecting social aspects of the locals and environmental aspects as well. So remark that the quality standards can go beyond quality per se. It can go beyond quality. It can reach social aspects, environmental aspects. And this is very common for fruits, vegetables, and legumes. Frutas, vegetais e legumes. Those guys are in this situation. But look, these guys have a huge bargaining power against the supplier. The retail networks, the retail firms, they play a very, very strong bargaining power against the suppliers. Why? First, because we have a huge number of suppliers for a small number of retailers. Second, because when we talk about grapes, the market is offered always or almost always in a small period of time during the year because of the harvest time, right? You harvest everything together. So when you harvest everything together, you have a bunch of offer against a small number of buyers. And third, products like grapes, products like mango, fruits in general, they cannot be easily stored. So those guys here, they need to harvest and they need to sell. Remark that the bargaining power is all over Carrefour, is all over the retailer. In this case, Carrefour has a so huge bargaining power that they say, that Carrefour says to the suppliers, hey guys, I want you to follow global standards. What does it mean in practical terms? Means that the suppliers, they need to hire a consultant firm to teach them on how to reach these global standards, quality standards. And after that, they need to pay again for another firm or to the same firm that trained them to get accredited. I mean, in order to make to the suppliers to be able to get a certificate, a piece of paper saying that they are meeting all the global requirements regarding quality, social aspects, and environmental aspects. Here I have an example for you. Here I have an example for you. Just a minute. Look. Global GAP certificate. Global GAP is a global certification for fruits and vegetables traded all over the world. It's a huge set of quality specifications, social specifications, and environmental specifications that a supplier, a farmer, needs to follow in order to be able to get this certificate. Remark, this global GAP certificate is owned by Hélio Gloeden de Oliveira. It's a farmer in Louveira, São Paulo. He has a farm named Chácara Nossa Senhora Aparecida. He produces figs. The number of global GAP certification is this one here. It is valid from May 27, 2015 to May 26, 2016. As soon as the farmer gets this certification, global gap certification, and presents to Carrefour, it's like the credential that that farmer is able to supply figs to Carrefour. Carrefour buys from this farmer because he has the global gap certificate, which again brings, informs the market that this farmer here has capacity, or that his production meets the global standards in terms of quality, in terms of social aspects, and in terms of environmental aspects. But as the bargaining power is all in Carrefour's, in the retailer's hands, this guy here, this supplier, doesn't receive any premium price for that. It's not because they have, or he has, global gap certificate that he will receive a premium price for his figs. No, he's just getting the right to sell to Europe with any additional premium price. Okay, this is just one example, global gap certificate, just one example of when a retailer, when a firm outsources the quality specifications. It is not the retailer that checks the product standards or the capacity of the supplier to produce. He's just, the retailer in this case, he just asks the supplier to present a global gap certification or certificate. Okay? Just for your information, global gap means global good agricultural practices. It comes from Europe, actually. Before global gap, the name was Europe gap, European Global Agricultural Practices. Europe had a certification in the past to make sure that the farmer was producing following those standards. And then it was expanded to a global good agricultural practices. Again, this is just to give you an example. Okay. Getting back to our material here, and to finish the class today. In addition to third-party certification to visit and appraise our reputation within the market, past performance, we still have evaluation of products, which is the check of products in the supplier's installation, and we have vendor accreditation. Vendor accreditation is something pretty similar to third-party certification or certificate. The difference here is that the buyer has his own standards, and he makes the assessment of the supplier and issue a certificate in case the supplier meets the wished requirements. Tesco is another example. It's another European retailer that does the same thing as Carrefour and other retailers, but they, instead of using global gap certification, they have their own certificate. So the customer, the supplier needs to get the certification, and in order to do that, supplier needs to be trained and pays for that, and after that, he needs to be accredited, and he pays for this accreditation. Let me just show you a case of TESCO's certificate here. It's pretty similar to Global Gap, but this one is issued by the retailer TESCO. It's not a global certificate. It's the certificate that TESCO demands, requests from the suppliers, from its suppliers, and this certificate follows just TESCO's requirements. Let's see what this certificate is about. This supplier is classified as gold. They have a scale, silver, gold, and so on. Awarded to La 9 de Julio. It's probably a supplier, a blueberry supplier. This certificate was issued in June 2014, in October 2014, and expires in October 2015. Okay, same idea, same spirit as Global Gap. Okay, and all right, guys, to close this class today, I would like to just mention these here. What are the main costs related to quality management or to quality discussion? Just a minute here. Yeah. We have basically 4 main types of costs. We have prevention costs, appraisal costs, internal failure costs, and external failure costs. What is prevention cost? Prevention costs are the costs that we or that a firm incurs in checking all the process of production. I mean, we incur in costs to make the prevention, not to have, in order to avoid having quality problems. Prevention costs could be considered the same thing as investments made in quality, in checking the process of the quality during the process of production. Appraisal cost is the cost involved in checking and inspecting the finished goods, as we explained it before. So you don't incur in costs to follow up and to monitor the process, but you just make a appraisal at the end of the production line on the finished goods, and this checking and inspection generate what we name appraisal costs. And then we have internal and external failure costs. Internal failure costs are costs related to mistakes within the operation. For example, a product with failure, it may generate damage to the, for example, to the production line, because this is not shaped the way it should be, for example. On the other hand, external failure costs are costs generated by problems that arise from products that are already in the customer's hand. So the customer received the good, expecting a standard set of quality, and suddenly the product starts to offer quality problems. I'll give you an example to make this clear. Recalls, examples of failure cost. When Fiat makes a recall of 200,000 Mobi and Grand Sienna, it has an important cost. Fiat has an important, incurs in an important cost. Image cost, and cost to make the recall, cost to make the revision, cost to make the replacement of pieces. Here are other examples: Mercedes-Benz, recall of 10 models in Brazil, Mitsubishi making the recall of ISCs, Outlander and Lancer. Engine might turn off by itself. So all of these are costs related to replacement of products or pieces, and they are result of lack of quality assurance or total quality management. Okay, here to finish the class, guys, we have a chart, a graph, showing how each of the costs mentioned behave. We have here failure cost. As soon as we walk through a position of no assurance quality or no quality management to a situation in which I have high level of quality management, I decrease my failure costs, both internal and external. When I walk from a situation of no quality to 100% quality management, I have, in a first moment, an increase in appraisal cost because I need to make monitoring spots all over the production line. But as soon as I do this, I have a decrease in appraisal costs because everybody is trained on the process. And lastly, on prevention costs, I have pretty much a standard level of prevention cost, no matter if I am in a situation of no quality management or if I am in a situation of 100% quality management. All right. Any doubt, guys? Any comment? Any suggestion? Any opinion? Nope. Today I will not make the check on presence because we are already on time. So I just have to say thank you for your attention and have a very great week.
Bye, Professor.
Professor, you too.
Thanks, Professor.
Bye.
Bye.
Professor.
Bye bye,
Thank
guys.
you.
Ciao,
Bye,
ciao.
Professor.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Bye bye, guys.
Professor, I noticed you have an immersion this semester called, I think, supply chain finance on agricultural business, I think.
Yeah.
But it's only for the second semester, right?
Yeah, Lucas. Yes. Unfortunately, actually, I developed this immersion course thinking on all students in the school, you know. But unfortunately, I mean, for administrative reasons, a coordination decided to put the subject this semester just for the second period. In the next semester, I will offer this course again, and I will inform coordination to offer this to everybody. So sorry, I really wanted to have this course being offered to everybody, but this semester not be possible.
Okay, I'll do it next one then. Thanks.
No problem. Bye bye.
Bye.